The View hosts have got themselves into hot water again after they did the very thing they purport to be against, undermining women's success. Joy Behar stunned viewers when she said Donald Trump's press secretary, 27-year-old Karoline Leavitt, only secured her position because of her good looks.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The comment was bizarre, especially coming from Joy Behar, who is as woke as they come and positions herself as a champion of feminism. This online commentator said, disgusting Joy Behar of The View accuses Karoline Leavitt of being hired only because Donald Trump thought she was a 10.
Another harsh lesson in what happens when hosts undervalue their guests is being shown by the aftermath of The View's most recent scandal. Karoline Leavitt, the youthful and unabashedly conservative political strategist who has been making headlines in the media, was the target this time. It was obvious that The View had once again stepped over the line they weren't ready to defend when Joy Behar arrogantly dismissed her as unfit and said that she was only appointed due to her appearance. But Leavitt was more than prepared for the assault. Instead of simply dismissing the attack, she returned with a vengeance, deftly tearing down Behar's patronizing comments and revealing the hypocrisy of The View's purportedly feminist storyline.
Let's talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to one of the worst mass in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political that has led to 2 heinous attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans to for decades.
Yet, of course, after those attempted attempts on the former president's life, his opponents reached out to him and said they do not accept political. That has been a key difference there. I do want to play you.
No, please. His opponents are saying to this very day the same rhetoric that led to those 2 attempts. The second attempted on President Trump's life echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie, and yes, you will take political like we have seen in 2 instances against President Trump. Last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden was a That's despicable, dangerous, divisive rhetoric that is spewed by the Democrat Party every single day. And I'm so sick and tired of the media pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying that he is sowing division in this country. He is not. The media is for pushing hoaxes like the one that you all pushed today, and the Democrat Party is for pushing lies about him. But the good news is Americans don't buy it. And that's why today in 2024, President Trump is more popular than he has been since 2016, because people don't trust the media and they're not buying the Harrison campaign's closing argument that he's some great to our democracy, because they lived under him for 4 years as president, and our democracy and our country was stronger than it is.
She did what so many others before her failed to do. Instead of flinching under their worn and predictable brand of elitist snark, she retaliated, which she did with grace, knowledge, and, above all, facts. From the beginning, Leavitt would not tolerate Behar's remarks. She made it obvious that her success was the result of years of hard work, political expertise, and strong communication skills rather than her looks. These attributes made her an apparent threat to the panel of self-proclaimed intellectuals who were out of touch. She emphasized how ridiculous it is to minimize a woman's accomplishments based just on her appearance, particularly coming from a program that frequently promotes female empowerment. There was obvious hypocrisy. The View likes to say that they are all about empowering women, but the moment a woman doesn't share their leftist views, they denigrate her in the very manner that they say they oppose. And let's face it, Joy Behar's casual, catty comment wasn't the only thing that happened. Attempts to delegitimize conservative women by depicting them as unworthy, insincere, or merely eye candy for their male co-workers were part of a broader trend. Whether it was Elise Stefanik, Kayleigh McEnany, or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, We've seen it before. The media makes it a point to disparage every young, well-spoken conservative lady who becomes well-known.
She said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Mm-hmm. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women. Yeah. See, this is not black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was a person's world. So please stop using that phrase to talk about, because you don't understand what you're saying. You're saying about yourself that, you know, hey, that's a terrible thing to be. It's not a terrible thing to be. That's why we fought. That's what we were fighting for, so that you could stand in that podium, so that Catherine Jean-Pierre could stand at that podium. Yeah. So women of all kinds of colors and ilks, wherever they came from, whatever their belief system was, they had the opportunity to bust down that door.
The View simply launched a lazy sexist attack, as they often do, hoping it would go unpunished. However, it backfired spectacularly this time. In addition to calling out the double standard, Leavitt made sure to tell Behar and the other panel members that she earned her place. Leavitt had to rise through the political ranks, facing genuine competition and examination, in contrast to the hosts of The View, who made their careers by talking over others and appealing to a privileged and supportive audience. She reminded them that she's out there influencing political debate and having an influence, while they sit around gossiping and hurling empty insults. Viewers criticized The View for its obvious hypocrisy as soon as the moment became viral. Videos of Leavitt stifling Behar's comments went viral on social media, and individuals of all political persuasions concurred that the attack was not only unwarranted but also wholly counterproductive. Even someone who might not share Leavitt's political views could not dispute that she had revealed a serious weakness in The View's discussion of women in politics. If they follow the party line, the show purports to support strong, independent women. A woman is instantly reduced to nothing more than a gorgeous face who doesn't belong at the table the moment she deviates from their worldview. The View's attempt to humiliate Leavitt ended up making them appear silly, as if things couldn't get much worse. In addition to coming out as cruel, Behar's sarcastic remark exposed insecurity among The View's panel. They turned to small-minded personal assaults since they were unable to argue with Leavitt on her merits. They focused on her attractiveness rather than her political beliefs, which only served to weaken their own image. This instance of projection was a classic. They had to fabricate a story to support their worldview rather than admit that a young conservative woman had advanced through the ranks due to her talent. According to reports, even ABC insiders acknowledged that the backlash was more severe than they had expected. The show's never-ending cycle of controversy was already wearing on executives, and this most recent event only made matters worse from a public relations standpoint. Behar has been a part of the show for decades, and one insider even suggested that some higher-ups were beginning to wonder if he was doing more harm than good. Although The Viewpoint enjoys igniting controversy, there is a thin line separating contentious and troublesome, and this instance went too far for the network to overlook. However, Leavitt's subsequent handling of the situation was what truly sealed the catastrophe. She didn't play the victim or complain. How Leavitt responded to it later. She didn't play the victim or complain. She took the opportunity to demonstrate precisely